Hello and welcome to Assessment Review with me, Dan Wilbeck, and today we're looking at the CIPD Level 3's 3C001, and it involves the business culture and change in context. We are looking in particular as well for the module that was released from June 2025 onwards. Okay, so in regards to this task, this unit considers the impact of external influences and how the digital and commercial environment shapes businesses and the culture within which they operate. It considers the importance of people's behavior on organizational culture and its ability to make change effectively. Provide written answer to each of the 9 questions and the case study below, which we will talk on next. So, in regards to this case study, we have here Shiva, who opened up her pharmacy BPE, or Best Practice Ever, in 1995, and over the years has successfully developed a business with 5 pharmacies within a 20-mile radius of each other. Each pharmacy provides prescriptions, health and beauty products, pharmacy services like health advice, blood pressure checks, and more recently, consultations and vaccinations. The company has a flat structure, with each branch reporting directly to Shiva, who manages the business on a day-to-day basis. As a local pharmacist, Shiva prides herself on her reputation for providing a personal service to all her customers, and over the years has been successfully maintaining this family culture. More recently, Shiva has been presented with an opportunity for growth in her business, as her son, who gradually becomes more involved in the organization and provided investment, has therefore proposed the acquisition of Enrol. And this is a national chain of pharmacies which will increase the size of BPE to 100 stores. That's 95 stores extra from what she has now. Enrol has an internet pharmacy allowing customers to request their medicines online and either have them delivered or collect them in person. Enrol typically has a hierarchical structure, and by that has a board of directors, and due to its size also has the functional head office, which has their own sales and marketing team, purchasing, finance, and small people team. In addition to this as well, there is a warehouse and distribution team too. As she contemplates this acquisition, she looks towards to tap into your knowledge as a student to gain some insights into what she believes are the key factors to be considered as per the acquisition. So she's asked you to have some written answers to the following 9 questions. But before we go into that, we'll be looking at the marking of each of the questions, or the ACs as they're referred to. We have 1 till 4. Number 1 being a refer or a fail, number 2 being a low pass, 3 being a pass, and 4 a high pass. However, we're not going to touch upon each of these descriptors right now. Please feel free to pause the video so you can have a look and see exactly what is required for each mark. However, for the 3 pass mark, what we're looking at today is the response needs to demonstrate a good level of knowledge, understanding, or skill that's required in the AC question. It should also include some examples, or really good examples, that are required to support your answer and your reasoning. And you need to make good reference to the case study where appropriate. Spoiler alert, you are looking at a unit which uses a case study throughout, so therefore it may be recommended that you are referring to the case study each time. And then you need to directly address the questions, and only the questions that are mentioned in that question, and make sure that they're well expressed. Finally, you need to ensure that you've got a good format and a good structure in order to meet the requirements set out in that brief. That just helps with the readability for reading back as an external person who will eventually be marking that for you, ensuring that there is academic rigor. You are using appropriate headings and paragraphs where appropriate. Okay, so now moving on. Your questions must consist of written responses. No oral, no visual, it's all written responses to questions 1 till 9. And approximately has 2,500 words in total, which makes about 277-ish words per question. You refer as well to the CIPD word count policy whenever you are doing anything related to this assessment, which gives you a plus or minus 10% word count either side. Okay, now let's crack on to the questions. So question number 1 is examine 2 key external factors likely to impact on BPE's acquisition of Enrol. So here you are looking to examine, and it's 2 key factors which are external and they're likely to impact on the acquisition. So you may want to use a model for this. You may want to use a reference or a theory for this in order to help explain and examine your question. Okay, number 2, discuss 2 business goals that BPE might set out once the acquisition has been completed, explaining the reasons why it's important that the plan to achieve these. So the first thing we need to break it down here is you're discussing now instead, and it's at least 2 business goals. We don't want 1, we don't want 3, we don't want 11, we want 2. So ensure that you are giving explicitly 2 business goals and explaining not the reason, but the reasons why it is important to plan. Okay, question 3. So question 3 is asking you to discuss, but in 2 areas here, the products and or services that BPE and Enrol deliver, and also their main customers. So break that down into 3 separate segments: the products, and or the service or services that they provide. And then the third action point would be looking at the main customers of BPE and or Enrol. All right, question 4. Review the range of technology that could be available to the people professionals working at BPE and Enrol and how these could be utilized to improve working practices and collaboration after the acquisition. So we're looking here to review. And what are we reviewing? A range of technology. So what does that mean? Does that mean AI? Does that mean computer usage? Does that mean handheld devices? That's entirely up to you. And please explain the range of technology that could be available to that people team and how it's utilized to improve working practices and collaboration. There's no point bringing technology into this question that will not improve the working practices and collaboration. So that's what we're looking for here. All right, question 5. I want to define what is meant by organizational culture and why it will be important to foster an appropriate and effective workplace culture in BPE after the acquisition. So 2 key areas to bold here. We want to define what is meant by organizational culture. So give a reference, give a theory, or give a model to answer that, and why it's important to foster an appropriate and effective workplace culture in BPE after the acquisition. I mean, picture this. There's been a giant acquisition, so the company's gone from 5 to 100 stores. Why do you think it is important that they need to be effectively having a workplace culture as BPE? All right, whilst we're going through these questions, it is important to note that we do have the CIPD Bite Size available for you, where we go into detail of covering around about 10 minutes or so each of the questions into a little bit more detail, giving you a bit more food for thought and just taking that bite-sized chunk out of this assessment review, and so that you'll be able to focus more on that question and be able to hammer that down a little bit more to help you prepare for your response. So please, if you haven't already, please check that out. And if you need any help or guidance, please message somebody from HRC. We'll be able to support you there. Right, question number 6. Explain how organizations function as whole systems and how the world and actions of people professionals at BPE after the acquisition could impact the organization. A lot to digest there, but if you break this down, we're explaining organizations as whole systems. So what are whole systems to begin with? Do you have a reference, a theory, a model that you want to add to be able to explain that? And then how the work and actions of people professionals could impact the organization post acquisition. Question 7. So explain again the main reasons why it is important that any changes made following the acquisition are planned effectively and are managed effectively. So looking here to explain the main reasons, not the tertiary, not the secondary reasons, why it's important that any changes made following the acquisition are planned and effectively managed. I mean, picture this. You start in a new company or you've just been recently acquired, and then they're making changes left, right, and center, but they're just done at a whim because that's what they think is the best option. And is that good? Is that bad? You tell us in your response. Okay, question 8. Consider the importance and the role of people professionals in BPE and Enrol could play during these changes. So we're looking to consider as our verb the importance of people professionals in BPE and Enrol and how they could help during these changes. You are potentially going to be a HR professional outside of this course, or you are already, and great. So what are people professionals doing during these changes? Are we being a communicator? Are we being somebody that is assisting managers have these conversations? What are we exactly doing? So picture it from that point of view to help you answer your question. Okay, question 9. Discuss how the changes could impact people working at BPE and Enrol. So again, we're looking at the verb discuss. And we're just discussing how changes could impact people working at BPE and Enrol. So this is more specifically everybody and how it's going to impact the people at BPE and Enrol. You have two separate terms and conditions, potentially two separate lifestyles and cultures, two separate policies. What will happen when the two come together? Please go through this and discuss what you think would be the right opportunity to answer that question. And just like that, it brings us exactly to the end of this unit. It's nothing too scary. And don't forget, you do have the CIPD bite sizes that will help you out with each of these individual 9 questions. And they'll go into a little bit of detail more than this video has now. And they range around about 10 minutes, as we've said, in order to go through, take a chunk out of this assignment, and you'll be able to get and achieve that level 3 pass. So that's all we have time for today. If you have any questions, like we said, please reach out to a HRC Online member and we'll be able to assist you where possible. Don't forget to look up your bite sizes and able to plan your assignment effectively. Best of luck, and we wish you all the best with your 3C001 journey.